Boston Celtics head coach Joe Mazzulla was thrust into the coaching position late last season, about 2 weeks before the start, when head coach Ime Udoka had some problems internally with the Boston Celtics. And even though Joe Mazzulla led the Celtics to an Eastern Conference Finals Game 7 appearance off of mishaps basically being the head coach, he had some question marks throughout the season, and The Athletic had an interview with Joe Mazzulla talking to him and other forwards about how confident they are in their coach this season, and I'm here to break that down for you guys here on Celtics Digest. We also have some news on why Payton Prichard has been so dominant in his first 3 preseason games. I'm Bruce Veliz, welcome to Celtics Digest, and before we guys get started into any content, I'd like to say thank you to everyone. We finally hit our goal of 1,000 subscribers, and I can't thank everyone who's hit that button. If you were subscriber 1 or if you were subscriber 1,000, we can't thank everyone enough that's already hit that big old red button and has joined the Celtics Digest family, and we can't wait to produce more content for you guys throughout the regular season. So if you want to make sure you stay tuned on all your Celtics news almost daily, guys, make sure to hit that big red subscribe button and hit that like button. But let's get into the Celtics news at hand today. So grab your popcorn and get ready, because we're going to be talking about Payton Prichard off-season work. And obviously, guys, Payton Prichard just signed that big contract recently, and a lot of people were saying questionable on his deal. Was it team friendly? Was it worth paying $7.5 million for Payton Prichard? And I ultimately said I think it was a steal for the Celtics and for Payton Prichard, and it has panned out. Payton Prichard has balled in these first 3 preseason games, and let's see what the Celtics files had to say in an interview with him. Payton Prichard was interviewed by them, and he said that he pays his friends who play basketball overseas to come defend him in the offseason so that he can get a legitimate live session on the court. This dude is different, and I totally agree. Obviously, Payton Prichard played with Team USA in the summer. He got some good reps with some great players, but obviously putting in that work in the offseason needs to count and needs to matter, and Payton Prichard did that this offseason. From the first 3 preseason games, you guys can already see he's the highest scorer in all 3 of those games. He's been dominant in the pick and roll. He's been a great shooter for the Celtics, and he's truly earning that backup point guard role and might even prove to be one of the top, being a low-tier starter point guard in the NBA by the end of this season. Definitely a top-tier backup point guard for sure. But you got to love to see that Payton Pritchard's going through that offseason work, making sure to grind. Even being thrown out of the rotation last year, he still wanted to improve on his game and make sure his worth was appreciated with the Boston Celtics. Clearly, he's done that in his work through the offseason. You can see that in these preseason games. And as a Celtics fan, I am so excited to see him improve and actually earn his role on this team. I know a lot of Celtics fans were questionable about the contract, like I said, but I think he's definitely deserved it, showing that he is the guard that we need to have on the Celtics team, and he's proving to be one of the best bench scorers for this Boston Celtics team when we get into the season. But let's talk about another topic at hand, which is talking about Joe Mazzulla addressing his coaching style and how he was fitting in as a coach. Now, this was an interview with The Athletic, where they talked to Joe Mazzulla and they talked to 2 other forwards, Sam Hauser and Al Horford, getting quotes on Joe Mazzulla and how he was doing his coaching this year and how he wants to improve his coaching this season as well, guys. So I'm going to pull up some of those as well. This quote is from Al Horford. He says, "In my opinion now, Joe Mazzulla is more comfortable," he told The Athletic. "I believe last year he managed it as well as you can possibly do it. I felt like he did a great job last year, and I think that this year it's just him putting his imprint on the team with how he wants things." Al Horford also followed it up with saying it has carried on after recent practice. He's just completely different in how it feels and how it looks. Obviously, his coaching was good before, but it's very clear that he has put his imprint on how he wanted things to be. We had a great culture, but I think he's really setting the tone on the details and the things that he expects and that he wanted every facet of what we do. Weight room, on the court, preparation, there's a lot of layers that go into it. And with him getting the job a couple of days before training camp last year, it's kind of hard to establish all of that. So that's what I'm seeing right now. And that's what you love to see out of a guy in Joe Mazzulla, coming from Al Horford, the big veteran on this Celtics team, the guy who's had the most experience in the league around coaches. He knows what a good coach can be, and him praising Joe Mazzulla like that as a fan makes me excited to see how Joe Mazzulla is going to do in his second year. Obviously, last year with a depleted assistant coaching staff and being thrusted into the head coach, a couple days before training camp, it's hard for him to adjust and lead a team that just made the finals back into a good playoff run like everyone's expecting them to. And he did that last season, and I can't wait to see how he improves with the additions also of Charles Lee, with the additions of Sam Cassell as well as the assistant coach, I think that Joe Mazzulla is going to shine. And exactly saying off court, weight room, preparation. We've seen these things from the Celtics on social media. Jayson Tatum, after every game, being in the locker room, working out, posting it on his story after even a win. Like, these guys were locked in last season, and if they can bring that same energy this season, I think they'll be even better with getting their key players of Kristaps and Porzingis and Jrue Holiday. That mentality, they'll buy into it as well, and I think they'll be true difference makers for this Celtics team. Now let's look at some more quotes. I'm looking at one from Sam Hauser talking about Joe Mazzulla. He said, in Mazzulla's second season, Sam Hauser said the days are more scheduled now. He said aspects of the team's daily routine were optional for certain players last season, but now it's more mandatory for guys to be in here, getting work in. He also said Mazzulla has put a heightened focus on both offensive and defensive reads, drills that stimulate the game like situations and force players to react on the fly. He also said, honestly, just the whole structure of the day is just a little bit different. It's more what I think he envisioned. He was kind of just thrust into the head coaching job last year, so he didn't have a chance to sort of establish what he wanted to do in the months leading up to training camp. The couple of weeks everybody was back leading up to training camp, so things like the lift, the pre-practice workout, the pre-practice group work, getting our reads in, our defensive reads, our offensive reads, learning the new terminology that we've been putting in. So all of that, I think, is accompanying what he's trying to preach to all of this year. And he is definitely right. Obviously, a guy like Joe Mazzulla couldn't get in the offseason, like what he wanted to run, his plays, his mentality. The guys didn't really know what to expect from Joe Mazzulla going into the season, especially when the season's about to start too. These guys are just buying into their roles, wanting to play, and then they have a new head coach. They got to go and follow what he wants to do. Maybe he wants to play more offensively or more defensively. Last season, Joe Mazzulla definitely wanted to figure out the offensive way that this team could function and move, and we saw that with, developing the three ball and shooting a lot of threes. And this year, I've seen quotes that Joe Mazzulla wants to focus defensively this season. He wants to lock on the defense. He wants to make sure he has those players in their specific skill positions, guys like Stevens and guys like Brissett, actually playing their roles on the defensive side. And I'm really, really buying into what Joe Mazzulla is doing this season. And you love to hear these quotes from a guy like Sam Hauser as well, who isn't recognized as one of the better players on the Boston Celtics, but he's still buying into what the coach is saying. He's still buying what the coach wants him to do, and that's what you want to hear from guys like superstar players from all the way down to the end of the role players to the end of the bench. But let's look at what Joe Mazzulla had to say on his quotes. We have two right here. He said, initially, it was like when I was assistant. I did a good job of being aware of like 8 players through 15. Mazzulla said, like that was my job. I was on the court with those guys every day and kind of had the sweat equity. Because of my mindset last year, I probably lost touch with 8 through 15 and kind of missed and didn't manage some of those relationships as well as I could have had, and as well as I did as an assistant. And then I was just like being on the court every day. You have a tendency as a head coach to get stuck in your office sometimes because you're worried about the next game plan or the next thing like that. But getting back to being on the court early and getting your meetings and stuff out of the way so you can be out there. So that's another reason why I feel a little bit more comfortable, because that's where I was at my best as an assistant coach, was being down there with the guys. So obviously Mazzulla is talking about when he was an assistant coach for the Celtics, he was working with guys, 8 through 15, trying to make sure they were mentally locked in, staying focused for the game, because if their role was called upon them one night, he needed them to be ready to go. But then being thrown as the head coach, he now has to focus on guys like Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, the more impactful guys on the team. And that kind of hurt his relationships probably with guys like Sam Hauser and guys like Derrick White, who were kind of near the end of the rotation last season. Even a guy like Grant Williams, who didn't play that much, probably didn't have that much of a great relationship with Grant Williams. That's why he didn't trust him as much in the playoffs, maybe leading to Grant getting benched. But now that Joe Mazzulla is actually realizing that he messed up and needs to work with these guys, actually makes me feel happy. And obviously bringing in guys like Sam Cassell is going to help him mold those other defensive guys. We've already seen Sam Cassell do some work with J.D. Davison and see some improvements to his game in the preseason. So I can't wait to see what this new coaching staff can do. Also great to hear that Joe Mazzulla wants to be on the court more, get his meetings done, get everything done before practice starts so he can be on the court and see these guys play, because that will give him more of a sight to see which players are actually being involved and which players are bringing the right energy. So when he's in a game situation, he knows what player to put in. But thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Celtics Digest. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you guys think Payton Pritchard's going to have a breakout season? And what are your guys' expectations for Joe Mazzulla this season as the Celtics head coach? I'm sold on him. I'm very high on Joe Mazzulla this season. I think he will prove to the Celtics that they'll be another top team, and I can't wait for this Celtics season. As always, if you guys are at this point in the video and you guys haven't hit the subscribe button, make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned to all this Celtics Digest content. If you're already still watching and you still haven't hit the subscribe button, Clearly you enjoy the content. We'll be posting shorts too as well, guys. 15 Celtics in 15 days. If you guys been missing those out or want to check up on every Celtics player leading up to the regular season, make sure to check out those videos as well, adding to these videos. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. I'm Bruce Veliz. Peace out, guys.